Good morning and welcome to the restored, revised, whatever you want to call it. Inaugural something, return of Morning Java, brought to you as always by our friends at the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where they are open for business. They fall into the essential, if you will.
They are essential.
And Dale feels that they have an essential sandwich there as well.
They do. They're still serving the captain. We're not quite to Easter yet, so Lent is still upon us. So if you have to get your fish sandwich, get the Get-Go and get the captain.
See the normalcy involved in that? Dale giving you the captain promo at Get-Go here, and here we are with the obligatory bottle of Purell for
If you're wondering where the rest of that went, we drank it.
Yeah, quite to that level of apocalyptic times. We have a symbolic 6 feet here between us as well. Troy's over here waiting for Dale to interview him for the big exclusive at the Hall of Fame and everything else. Wow. And what do you even say?
Wow. I mean, the sports world is shut down right now.
The world has shut down.
Except for the NFL. And thank goodness that to me, it just made sense for the league to continue and
I'm so happy
move
about
on with
that.
everything, because I think people just needed an outlet. You can only hear about the end of the world, the apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse that's upon us.
Right. What you really need in your life is the Cleveland Browns doing stupid things.
Well,
I mean, didn't that just make you feel good? You know what I mean? Just the fact
there's some normalcy in the world.
There was some normalcy in the world. The Browns were doing dumb things and overspending on players when they're nowhere near. You and I have been talking for days now about all this other stuff and how we're going to handle it and how sports teams are going to handle it. And the one thing we kept coming back to is just please let there be National Football League year, draft, and everything. You've been convinced all along that they were going to trudge through this.
Yeah, I mean, because there are so many things involved. Player contracts that have deadlines set in that tied into the start of the league year. I know there are no draft visits or anything like that going on right now, but they can't delay the draft because you have to move on. You have to continue with this, because as soon as this thing's over, and it will end, things are going to kick back up again. They're going to start over, and there are some things that they're going to miss here along the way, and it's going to probably hurt the teams the most that don't have the consistency, that don't have the carryover from previous seasons, teams that changed head coaches, teams that changed general managers and scouts, those kind of things. But there's going to be an off season. There's going to be
there's an off season.
Yeah, there are going to be some OTAs and those kind of things, and there's going to be training camp, and in a 2020 NFL season, there's going to be. It may not be exactly what we're used to seeing, but there will be these things.
And the other thing is, you almost feel like you have to attach an asterisk to everything that you say about this, because by tomorrow, something really awful could happen, and everyone will go, "Whoa, we can't have a draft," or whatever else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was asked in my live Q's on Monday about, have I ever seen anything like this before with going back through the ages? No.
Somebody asked me in mine about compare it to September 11, and I was like, you can't. I mean, that was just an instant.
They delayed 1 week. I mean, I was at the Steelers facility that day. They were open. I was there, watching everything unfold on the TVs with the players and coaches. We're all standing in the lobby watching this.
Yeah.
They just delayed 1 week and came back and started playing again. I mean,
that was more of, but that was the reason that's so different, is that was more out of defiance. We're going to show them. And remember, Coach Cowher going out to Somerset with his jaw out, and you're thinking, man, if Osama gets a load of Cowher, he's really in trouble. And it was just like that. And you were all, this is different.
We're going to be defiant.
That's it. But that's it, Dale. I mean, really, that's what we got. This is our battle here, or our war, or whatever else.
Troy needs a little bit too.
You want to call it, or give us some to Troy. But do this, because
take precautions. That's all.
Look, even if it's just like for the most vacuous, selfish reason conceivable, like I just want sports again. If that's your thing, then do this, because they'll come back faster. Read up on it. I would love nothing more than, like, let's say in a month and a half, that this thing gets, the curve gets flattened and the medical community can handle the cases that are out there and everything. And for all those people who are right now chest thumping, I'm going to go live my life and everything else, I'd love for you to be right. Let's put it that way. You go right ahead and be right, because that'll mean that this thing got fixed.
Absolutely.
Now, since Dale gave Troy some sanitizer, we're going to give some to Coach since he was just referencing.
You definitely didn't want to be within that 6-foot halo when Bill Cowher was around.
No.
You were going to get spit on.
No. Here's Coach and my good friend Josh Miller. when this is Josh Miller after a bad punt, and this is Coach. Look at the chin all the way out.
You don't have a Josh Miller back
believe
there?
It or not, believe it or not, Josh, we don't have a bobblehead of you yet. If you have any that you've made of yourself, and you are so the kind that would have had that done, feel free to send that to us. The Steelers were busy on Monday. There was actual football for you to write about, which is cool.
Yeah,
just that part alone.
I think in the span of about 30 hours, I think I wrote like 8 different stories of everything going on, because everything just started steamrolling. The CBA got passed, and then that led to, hey, the NFL, we're gonna continue to have everything go on as forward, or move forward as is. Bud gets tagged, and that was not unexpected. The guys who were released or retired or any of that kind of stuff really wasn't that big of a shock. But the Steelers had to create cap space. The next thing that we're going to see are some more restructures to get them under the cap, to get them the space.
But it's doable, and you've been writing that all along here. There's guys that they can talk to here to get them under there. But here's what I like the most out of this whole scenario. A year ago, when we were talking about Bud Dupree, tag was never in that sentence.
Everybody,
okay? Bud, the debate was, do you even want to keep him on that 5th-year option? And as much as he's been Jarvised to death by the fan base, and everyone knows what I mean by that, well, he never was Jarvis.
Never was. Not even close.
He wasn't getting, Jarvis was getting manhandled. Bud was getting back there. He just wasn't making plays, and then Bud starts making plays. Here's what I want to ask you about, because I know how much you love Pro Football Focus. They had this dude.
They had this kid. Looked like he was 12.
You saw this
then.
Good, because I don't even have to describe it. I'll describe it for them.
I even listened to it because I wanted to hear his voice.
He looked like he was 13 years old, and he had this handheld camera that he was putting on himself going, can I imitate him? Would that be offensive to people?
No.
This is why signing Bud Dupree is a bad contract. And I'm like, this was on Pro Football Focus, okay? And they got into stuff about Bud that said that he wasn't anywhere near as good as his actual numbers, which is the exact opposite of what you'd heard about Bud for years. He was getting back there. All he did, Dale, was finish for the first time in his career.
One of the stats that they put out when they released the article last week, I think, saying that the Steelers should not franchise tag Bud Dupree, was unblocked sacks or unblocked pressures. He had 7 of those. Mm-hmm. Matthew Judon, who they apparently had no problem
with
the Ravens giving, had twice as many.
Right.
But he's great. Even though Bud had more sacks and more pressure, you can't have it both ways, guys.
This whole thing, do you remember Steve Pierce played baseball, obviously. Yeah. He was a Pirate, and then he ended up playing. The knock against Piercy for years and years and years was, he hits all his home runs off mistake pitches. Home runs
Every home run is a mistake pitch. If it's a good pitch, you're not usually hitting it for a home run.
If you hit a good pitch out of the ballpark, okay, then you're like Mike Trout or whatever, okay?
You're Barry Bonds in his prime.
So if you are unabated to the quarterback and you get to the quarterback...
Would you rather have Anthony Chickillo doing that and not getting to the quarterback?
So, Bud, my point is here, as mean as I was to the child from PFF, that Bud did what he was supposed to do. He had his other metrics. He had all those pressures, all the stuff that TJ had, when TJ Watt and I had talked last summer, and he said, you'll see, he's this close. And he predicted that. He actually predicted it on camera. We had it on a video on the site that Bud's going to get there. Well, he did. He did his job, and he got paid.
And that's I don't want to hear the stuff. Well, he's only done it for 1 year, or he was in a contract year, because that suggests that he wasn't
motivated.
He wasn't motivated.
You don't know Bud.
He wasn't trying.
Yeah, you don't know Bud.
The guy puts in the time. Look, I ripped the pick when they made it on the air on Steelers on the Steelers radio network. I said this is not a good pick because he wasn't going to help them that season. But you saw the athleticism. You saw the freakish ability that he had. He just didn't have the instincts of a top-notch player. Well, now those things are starting to mesh.
My favorite Bud line, this was from, not from him, but from Mike Tomlin, whenever he first started to make that penetration and finish his plays, and one of the people in the reporter's room asked Tomlin about getting there, and he said that's what someone of that pedigree should be doing. Remember that?
Yeah.
Now, for all these bobbleheads that we have here, Steelers bobbleheads, stunningly, we don't have any of offensive linemen, plural, much less one of the topic of our last segment. That's the truly great, in his own way, Ramon Foster, who deserves his own segment. However, if Ramon was going to have anybody represent him on our table today, it would be the guy whose life he saved.
Actually, all those guys would end up representing him, because that's what kind of guy Ramon was in that locker room.
Yes.
Everybody loved him. You saw the outpouring when he announced the retirement from his teammates, from guys on other teams. He's that kind of guy that people gravitate to. And, well, I mean, I know he's moving back to Tennessee because that's where he just built a house at.
Yes, he's been working on it for a while.
That's good news for those of us in the Pittsburgh media, because he probably would have been coming for one of our jobs.
And said so. Here, Java exclusive. I don't even know if I've shared this with you, but he actually at one point last season asked if he could do stuff for us. And I was like, I'm picturing the byline, by Ramon Foster,
Yeah.
Like,
it wouldn't, I mean...
Not being ruled out, Moan, by the way, just so we know. Here.
It won't surprise me to see him calling SEC games or something, if Tennessee adds him to their broadcast.
He wants to be visible. Yeah. He wants to work in media in some capacity.
He's 34 years old. Hardly an old man.
He's so bright, so well-spoken, so ambitious, such a hard worker. And the guy that he has looked to in that regard as a little bit of a model has been Ryan Clark, who's made that transition. Now, he's not the only one. We've seen Hines Ward do not as well. No offense. I mean, but RC has actually gone on TV and
Bryant McFadden's another one that's
Bryant McFadden is another guy.
Himself,
Ramon is a guy who will learn. He'll learn the diction aspects, the way that you're supposed to. Well, okay, now I sound like I'm forcing it, but you use your hands when you speak and stuff like that. But Ramon is a guy who is respected, not just for being in the players' union, but for being that guy. He was the big bear that everybody could go in there and hug. I can't picture the room without him.
He was a self-made man, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other part of
Undrafted.
it. That everybody in that locker room could appreciate the fact that he was an unsigned rookie, ended up beating out Craig Urbick, who was a third-round draft pick in 2010, to stick on the team.
Right there, right in that camp.
And stick with this, not only stick with this team, but become a starter and a key starter for this team for a long time. That doesn't happen everywhere.
No, and Mike Tomlin's statement that he put out about Ramon, which, by the way, Tomlin does not put out for everybody who retires.
The respect that he has.
He included in there. He made a point of including that aspect of it, the undrafted. So did Ramon, by the way, in his own statement. He's so proud of it. He sees these draft picks come in every year, he's like...
They draft guys all the time, and they don't always make it, but he made it. He beat the odds for over a decade. And how many undrafted free agent rookies, guys who make it roster, not only play 10-plus years, but do so for the same team? Doesn't happen all the time.
No, and he didn't get his ultimate goal in Pittsburgh, the one that he talked about all the time. I'm here for no other reason than to win a Super Bowl. But he did an awful lot of winning, and he did an awful lot of protecting this guy and being his... If you ever seen... I feel like this is worth special mention. In road stadiums.
Keep going. I'm going to just...
Okay.
Ben needs a little...
well, Ben does because...
It may be a little on the elbow,
But then you got to give some to the mythical Marquise here, too, because he's centering the ball, right? But Ramon was the guy right here who would stand up and twist his torso and look back at Ben because he was the bridge to make sure that Ben could hear all of the line calls and everything, the calls that Marquise was making at the line, and everybody was on the same page in front of 70,000 fans at Arrowhead Stadium. He was that cool guy. He was the one that kept everybody calm, including this guy. He'll tell you that himself. I can't picture the Steelers. I don't mean to get you guys just don't know. Trust me, you don't know unless you've known Ramon. It's going to be difficult without him.
And it's just the way things change. I mean, you see leadership go. You see leadership. Somebody else has to step into that void.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see who that guy is. Is it David DeCastro? Is it one of the young players on offense? One of the other young guys?
And some guys.
Cam Hayward's got it covered on the defense.
And some guys like Matt Filer and others who've been kind of quiet maybe have to be a little bit more vocal. And then, of course, there's one individual who's up and coming on the offensive line who has no issue whatsoever with being vocal and visible, and we'll see how Zach Banner comes along as well. In the meantime, congratulations to Ramon Foster. I mean that sincerely from the journalistic and every other perspective, and thank you for all of your cooperation.